Right. So in the last class, we saw the areas of project knowledge basically. These are the areas of knowledge which we require to have or which we should try to develop to have a successful project. Now, we are just going to go back to the, we are just going to the, to today's lecture. So the first thing which you will always have in a tender is the cover page. So most of the things like who's the buyer, and also for instance here you can see it is Canara Bank. So the project name is there, Centenary Rural Development Trust, and you also have the item for which we are doing for civil, public health and electrical. By public health we mean the sanitary works are also included. And here is the title, construction of buildings for Canara Bank Development Training Center, etc. And now we are just going to go through the technical bit. The other one, the quantity bit, okay, or the bill of materials, whatever you're having, will come into your commercial bit. So that will be more relevant for a course in quantity surveying to understand what is there. So after the cover sheet, we'll find that this is the typical contents. We'll have the general conditions of contract. I'll be going through this only in particular because this will be in general more or less common in nature with all the tenders. When you're going for the special conditions of contract, some things like will be there, like for example, if it's in a forest area, special permissions might be required. So here they will say this is in a forest area, so please get the permission for doing this work. Alternatively, they'll say this contract will take about 2 years for, at the most they'll give an upper limit of time limit. They'll say up to 2 years it will take for getting the required forest permission. It means the permission can be got next day also, or it may take up to 2 years. So they'll give such special things into that. And then what they mean by safety, like what do they want to have in safety, will be also given. And appendix 1 in this tender is giving the time schedules. Please remember, this is the schedules we are basically talking about. All our planning in CPM and PERT or whatever is the thing which you're going to use will have to fall into this time schedule. Whatever they are talking about as time schedule is the broad outline of times which they want us to follow. Then we were talking about the running bills. So here again they are giving a format for the running account bills, and that one I will show. The rest of the things, for example, we talk about indemnity bond, performance guarantee. So all those formats are also given. So here you just see, this is the first thing is the call for tender. So they are saying sealed tenders are required on item rate basis. What is item rate basis? You have a set of works. For each item you are going to say this is the price at which I will do. So overall they'll have a look at the various contractors, because the quality is mentioned, all the other things are there, and then they say we want it built to this particular specification. So the time when it is valid, it starts from 29/12 and it goes on till 17/1. So a person can think of buying the document in this particular period of time. So another thing is also that they are also giving you the price of the tender, like at what cost you will be most likely executing the work. I'm sorry, I just went too fast. Okay. Yeah. So these are the general instructions. Yeah. We'll go back one more slide. So here it is. Here they are talking about the earnest money. So we talked about earnest money. What is this earnest money of 1.84 lakhs? They don't want anybody to just buy the tender document, fill up all the values and give it. So they are imposing a 1.84 lakhs earnest money, so that in case they feel a person is eligible to do the work and they give it to him, he should not back out at the last minute saying no, it was just for fun that I did it. Now this next slide, this page gives the details for the eligibility. So that means there is a precondition which is given. Please remember, this is the two cover process which we are talking about. First, you will have to prove that you are technically competent, and then after that only you are going to be allowed to give the price bid. First, they'll see what you are saying technically, whether you are technically sound, whether your principles you are talking about is a generally accepted one. So they will have an eligibility criteria saying that you should have relevant experience. It doesn't mean that at the end of the BTech you do 2 years in Satyam Infosys and say that I have 2 years of experience. They want relevant experience. So that's what in a similar way they are going to put it here also. I just gave that as an example. Now here they are saying, see, you have to have completed 3 similar works of 36 lakhs or 2 similar works of 46 lakhs or 1 work of 73 lakhs. So they are giving, like, it's not only that you have done an RC building, the cost also should be quantified. How will you be able to quantify this cost, or how will you be able to prove this cost? All the bills which you submit to a client will add up to a particular value. So that one you can give, or you may have a chartered accountant who would have done your accounts. So his statement will form the basis for proving the claim that you worked for 36 lakhs. So usually the moment you say 36 lakhs of work I executed 3 times, nobody is going to question. However, if they ask you in further details, you may have to prove it by using the drawings which you executed or getting a certificate from the previous owner. So these are some of the ways by which a person can prove the work which he has done. Now we go on to the next one. This is again another instruction which has been given to the bidder. So see here they are saying contractors are forewarned that no errors, whether arithmetical or otherwise, you will be permitted in their tenders. So we should, whenever you give a tender, it is very binding. Okay, so we should be very careful when we give the tender. And these are some of the certificates which they want. Of course, for example, we talked about the hierarchy, like who is who. So here, for instance, they'll say this is the person who will be the single point contact for this project. So quite a lot of things you will be asked to give. And for instance, we were talking about the turnover. So you can put this turnover. This would be from your accounted or audited book. So what is the book value? It will be given here. And these are some of the certificates which you are expected to provide. And yeah, work completion certificate means the moment you would have heard of the course completion certificate, which is something like that. The moment you finish the work, probably the work is completed, and the company to which you executed the work has not released the full payment because it might be within that performance guarantee period or something like that. So all such things, I mean, like, so it means that you have finished the work, you come out of the site. At that time, you will get a work completion certificate. This is also one of the reasons why your it will be very good if you can finish your work in time and come out of a particular job. Okay. So this is the details of the organization which I was talking about. So you should tell who is who. So this is the qualification. So the moment you join an organization, for instance, many times they'll ask you to hand over your BTech certificates. One of the reasons they do this is they are afraid that you will run away. Usually this happens in most of the slightly smaller companies. Why do they do that? Or if you are starting a company, you might also do this. The reason is you would have already furnished this information, serial number, name, designation might most probably be the site engineer. So you will say you got a BTech, and professional experience, you may even be a fresher, but that might not be a big deal. And number of years working in the organization, here again they'll have to be putting your name as fresher. So this is the amount of importance which is attached to the number of people whom you are committing to the job. Even before the job is started, you are going to commit that these are the people who will be working for that particular organization. Okay. So this is again, like previous contracts, whatever you have done, you will have to show. For instance, name of work, cost which you have done, and built up area, number of floors, etc. Now we'll go on a little further. This is the important thing which I would like to discuss today. This is till now whatever we had, those are the pre-qualification norms which the contractor is trying to give to the owner or the prospective owner. Okay, so here we have the general conditions of contract. So these are the terms which we use in the start of the contract. So when we say employer, whenever you find the word employer in the contract document or the tender document, it means that it is the Canara Bank. And so whenever they talk about architect, it means this person. So engineer, contractor, so every item which is there has a name which is being described in the beginning itself. Okay, so drawings and everything, every single term which will come has already been described. So this is the place which you will be looking at if suppose you are having a doubt in any of the details which are provided. So just go to the next slide. Right. So here, yeah. So for instance, we were talking about specification. Please have a look at this one. Specification is what is given in the annexure, or they are saying if suppose it is not there, then you go and look at the Indian or British standard. Please think about the CPWD norm. In case it is some specification is missing from the, you'll fall off here, be careful. If you are not able to see, I'll prefer you come to the front row. Yeah, you don't have to look to the other side. The one in the dark t-shirt. Yeah. Yeah. I was very worried that he's going to fall forward, into the front bunch. Okay. Now coming back here, so these are this is the specification which we are talking about. Same thing happens even to CPWD works or any other works. I just like you to draw the comparison between those specifications like what we saw in CPWD and what we have here. So whenever we say specification, we should be a little cautious which specification we are talking about. So when you are getting the tender document, you are expected to study everything and see whether you are fully convinced that all the specifications are clearly defined. If there is a discrepancy during the pre-bid stage, you should raise it up and get it ratified by the owner or employer, okay, or whatever is the term which they use here. Now we will just go through some of the other things. So here they are talking about scope. We were talking about scope yesterday. So what is meant by the scope for this project or for any tender? The tender document should clearly define the scope, where it starts, where it ends. So what you are expected to do and what you might be expected to do also could be given there. Okay. So for instance, here they are telling it consists of construction of buildings for this training institute. So it is very clearly told. Then he says the civil work, the sanitary work, the plumbing, electrical and pathways. Again they use the word etc. So here is where the smart contractor will have a look. He'll say when you say etc. I will only do these. Or they'll say within 1 meter or within 2 meters from the boundary of the wall is what I will do. They'll say you have to take the wastewater and leave it outside. So the smart contractor will say I will only take it to 10 meters at the most. Anything beyond that is extra. So we will connect it to the first manhole which is at a maximum distance of 10 meters from the building. So so such things are very important because if suppose your manhole is at a very huge long distance, your toilet will have to be raised to quite a great height. So if you are going to discover it at the end of the project, you will find that you are not able to connect your sanitary waste to the manhole. So this is one of the examples which I am giving. So this is why a contractor has to be very smart when he reads the contract or tender document. Okay. So then of course the other things, like if you just go through it, you should be able to make out. I'm now just going to look at some other things. See here, they are talking about the scope of work also means that you should submit as-built drawings. So this is another constraint which has been given. So all of these you should see and take into account your cost, because in a normal procedure they have given some construction, they have given some drawings, but what you have built will be a new set of drawings which you will prepare, and preparing drawings is also a costly affair which also includes a lot of cost involved. Now have a look at this. Tenderer shall visit the site. So this is a very dangerous term in the sense that It means that this is not only an item rate contract. If any item is missed out, or what if you feel any item is missed out, you are expected to go to the site and have a look at it, and then you have to put it into your cost. Now, for instance, this location of first manhole in the previous example might not be specified in the contract. They wouldn't be specifying it in the tender. So the contractor will have to have a look at it and really ascertain whether it is possible to connect it. Okay. Now, yeah, I'm just skipping these pages. For instance, like, bylaws, we'll have to look into the bylaws, and then we'll have to ensure that all the things, they have only given a drawing. So whether it is really feasible or not, we will have to find out. In this particular tender, they have already given a bill of quantities. They've already calculated some quantities. Work of the contractor is only to fill in the cost, multiply the cost and the item, and then he'll have to give it. Now, he just makes a note, quantities, sorry. Yeah, quantity shown is intended to cover entire new structures indicated in the drawings, but the employer reserves the right to execute only a part of it. So you see, now it's again the contractor is left at a limb. So he'll think, I'm going to do so many buildings, I'm going to do 3 buildings, for instance. But after he wins the job, the owner can say, no, I will not give you 3 buildings, I'll only give 2 buildings. This is a risk which you have to have a look at it. Okay. Now, yeah, look at this. This is another place where you are going to lose money or make a little money. This is the earnest money, I mean security deposit, which we are talking about. What is security deposit? Security deposit means after you win the job, first is earnest money, where when you're bidding, you are if you run away, that money is going to be held. Security deposit is when you get the job, start the job, but you don't finish it, or there's some dispute. So this one is held by the owner for his security. And retention money is there because after you finish the job, you get payment, but then you may have done very bad work. Between, yeah, security deposit is during the execution of work. While you're doing the work, you may abandon the work and go away. Okay, so that will become an issue for the owner. At that time, you will be paying a security deposit, which will be returned after you finish the work. After you leave the site, they will allow you to do it. For instance, in many of the cases, people will start to dig very indiscriminately. They may cut some cables. For instance, you would have heard it recently in Vellore, when the water department was digging, they cut BSNL cables. So like that, inside the owner's premises, if something happens, what is the guarantee that the contractor will make good? It is the security deposit. Okay. And performance guarantee or retention money means you have finished the work, you have gone out, but then you find that 2 or 3 slabs are loose. Some of the panels are falling down. So that might happen within, say, 2 weeks after the contractor goes. Till he's inside, everything is pakka. But the moment he goes out, something starts to malfunction. So what is the hold which the owner has on the contractor? It is this retention money or performance guarantee. Okay. So how much is the security deposit going to be? For example, in this case, they say 2% of accepted value of tender. This can be more or this can be lesser depending on the type of or nature of work. For instance, if you're going to go for a petrochemical industry or some other industry, it will be very high. However, for a power plant or something, it might be slightly lower. So this is the difference between these 3 money which is taken up by or taken by the company. Now, yeah, here if you see, they say contractor to provide everything, blanket statement. So whatever, for instance, in this particular tender, the cost of the site establishment is also the owner's. That means, the buyers, contractors. The buyer's engineer will be in site. You will have to provide him with office. You will have to provide him with all the things he will require, including a place to stay at your cost. So, so you might think, yes, it's not always very, it's not going to be very conducive to run a contract. But anyway, contractors have been successful, and we can also be definitely successful. So we were talking about this, stores. How we are going to protect stores is also specified here. He is very upset. He is very concerned because if a bad material goes into the work, he is going to suffer. So here you see the theodolite and everything, whatever he wants you to use, are also there. And this notice and patent of appropriate authorities and owners. This is a very difficult or very what shall I say? It's an important thing to look at. Many of the technologies, especially in the process industries means chemical industries and stuff like that. The process is patented. So if a company owns the patent, they will license probably only the working of that system, but they may not transfer that technology. For instance, you all know that Japan is willing to fund the metro rail between Ahmedabad and Bombay fully. They'll fund it, but they'll recover the cost later on. But the only hitch is they are not going to transfer the technology. So we don't know whether we are going to get a slightly or very inferior technology from China, where the technology may also not be good, but cost will be within our budget, quality suffering of course, or whether we are willing to let ourselves be imposed by this constraint, where we get the funding, we will pay the higher rate of interest, but get good quality of stuff. Or probably we'll just say, instead of going and paying 5,000 for a bullet train ride between Ahmedabad and Bombay, I'll spend 1,500 and fly to Bombay. Choice is ours. Okay. So this is the meaning by this patent. Suppose there's a patented technology, we will have to pay for the patent, and what we get or what the owner will get from it, he's also very keen on understanding. Okay. Now, every word, I mean everything which we have here is what we have used, and whatever we have talked about. Now here is something which we can have a look at. This is that access. What is this access we are talking about? It means that the contractor will have free right to go in and out, subject to certain limitation. Every reasonable see, look at the word, any authorized or representative of the employer, sorry, of the contractor. I'm sorry, here what happens is employers shall at all reasonable times have free access to the works wherever. So what it means here is, if I am buying something, I cannot be stopped by anybody from visiting and inspecting the site. The other way is also there, where the contractor should not be stopped when he wants to enter the construction site for any legal purposes. So only time when they will stop access is when they find that a person has like abandoned work or something like that, where they'll say that this person is not allowed to enter the construction site. Now, yeah. We will, so this is the site engineer. Then see here I was talking about the office accommodation, no? This is what we are talking about. So site engineer here means the owner's engineer. This is the person who will be the first level of checking off every bill. Okay. So we are also having some what shall I say, some clauses which say what we have to do to the employees. Now, please remember, this is where we come for that employees welfare, which we are talking about, no, OSHA, and all those things which we had in one of the lectures. This is where it comes. So here, if you see, he will talk about everything. He will say you have to have laborers who are only above 18. So nowadays, if you go to most of the construction sites, they will not let a child enter at all. Even if my son wants to go into the site, unless they are fully convinced that he is above 18, they won't allow, because somebody can take a photograph and say that this fellow has been in the site, he was used as child laborer. So you have to also be a little careful and very cautious in, when you are a site engineer, please ensure that you know who's authorized to come in. So a child of an employee, I mean, like a laborer might not be permitted inside the labor camp. So if you look at it, these were all the laws which we had a look at. And over and above this, they have a clause on dismissal of workman. If suppose the company doesn't, if the employer finds that somebody is not a good site engineer, he can say, please dismiss that person. If you are the contractor, you are forced to dismiss the person at least from that site. And if it so happens that he is saying something and all that, there is a clause which the owner says, I will not take responsibility for paying any compensation. Usually, if you just terminate employment of a person, you will have to give some compensation. So all that is not going to be given by the employer. So that's what he is trying to tell in that clause. And yeah. So if you look at it, almost everything what we talked about in this course will be met by you at some point of time in some form or another. So how you are going to maintain your accounts, receipts, and vouchers? How measurements are going to be done? Because only when you are going to measure the work, you will be paid. After measurement, this measurement has to be certified, then it goes for payment. So how it is going to be done, it has also been mentioned in the contract. So then again there is payment. Look at this. What is this initial mobilization advance? The moment you get the tender, some companies will say, okay, you are going to do this work for me, I will give you so much of advance. You can go and work, you can work, but in the first bill it will be deducted or something like that. They'll have an agreement. In this one, they're saying that there will be no mobilization advance which is given. And now look at this. How they are going to take into account running bills is mentioned. Here, if you see, the architect shall issue the certificate and then it will be paid. Measurement may be taken, but the architect has to come and validate in this particular case. So depending on the type of work, the way the bill is going to be processed will change. So it is very important, like when you go into a site as a site engineer, please, maybe your bosses might not be so good to give you all the information. And in some places, I also know if you ask too much of questions, they will humiliate the person, saying, what, you don't know this also. But because of that, people tend to make mistakes. So please have a look. As a site engineer, you are responsible to your company only. You're not responsible to the owner. Please remember, you're always responsible only to the person who is paying you. So sometimes, the owner can say, I am the owner, you do this work. It's always better to ask your boss, your immediate boss within the company, and then start the work. Okay. So you see here again, there's things about how the payment, like here it is, we are having the things like supply of material, how good it is, how bad it is. They are going to have a look at that. That's what this class is saying. And here we are having something about final payment. So what is this LD? You remember what LD is? Liquidated damage. So if suppose because you delayed the work, the owner can say, I lost so much of money. So that they will call as liquidated damage, and that they will put it into the bill. It need not be only that. Some other work might be shoddy. Anything can be put into liquidated damage. So variation and deviation, we were talking about. This is one of the major causes of arbitration. So what would happen if suppose there is a variation or deviation? How they are going to look at the variation? All this is also part of a document. And also substitution. For example, instead of using Pariware fittings in the toilet, if you want to use Cera or some other company, that is called substitution. So substitution is possible and within certain limits. So what is that, and how is it going to be worked out is also mentioned. Here there is a definition of what constitutes completion of work. How will I say that I have completed the work? If you satisfy these criteria, then it means that work has been completed. So even that is given. First we had the scope, and now we are coming to the completion certificate. And here have a look at this. This is the defects after completion. How are you going to handle a defect after completion? So what all constitutes defects? It's also mentioned right on day one. So you will know how much effort you'll have to take into the whole thing. So we were talking that concealed work require. I think it was told in the quantity survey class. The concealed work will have more weightage than other work, because the moment you finish the work, you are going to close it. So we'll have to measure it then and there. And here again they are saying idle labor will not be paid. In case you get labor and then they are not working, because even if it's the owner's mistake, they are not going to do anything. And suspension, this is the suspension of some work by the employer. So that is also how, if that happens, what is going to be done is also highlighted. And we will yeah, so these are all lot of legal terms will also come into the picture many times. What happens, what doesn't happen if something is not happening is part of the thing. Here we have something on arbitration. So what happens if suppose all the things we are talking about fail, people, we are not happy with what has been done, so we then go for arbitration. So where this arbitration is going to be done, who will do it? Okay, so everything is given right on day one. Here we have, so we will have to do it within 30 days. Sole arbitrator is referred to above. So here everything they want to talk about is mentioned. How many days it should be done, or I mean like within what period you're going to raise this arbitration. All this is mentioned right on day one itself. So this is something like, the fees and expenses, if any, of arbitration shall, if required, be paid before the award is made, be paid in half and half by each of the parties, or it may be also that what whom the arbitrator says should pay the arbitration fees will also go. Please remember we are talking about the bin card, no? So please have a look at this. So whatever comes in into the site will have to be mentioned and kept. So where it goes, everything is required. What is the test and what is the acceptance criteria will also be has also been mentioned. Please remember that this will be common to any type of or most of the types of works. And this one is the format of a running bill. Now specifically, I want you to just have a look at this part. So they are always having, as per tender, what is the quantity? This is the allocated quantity of work. So this is the item description is there. The unit of measurement. The unit is the unit of measurement. Rate will be what the contractor has told he will execute the item at. And quantity as per tender. So if you are going to look at this, if it's a running bill, this quantity is what is fixed. For example, if they say that there is going to be 100 meter cube of concrete for first floor, 100 meter cube of concrete is frozen. The cost is frozen. For doing it at first floor, you'll have to take more cost because you have more safety requirement. You'll have some lifting requirement, everything into the picture. So that's why I'd like to just highlight why cost of concrete is different at different levels. So he will say that as per tender, 100 has been done, but then if you raise a bill for 102 meter cube, the 2 meter cube may be paid, might not be paid, depending on the justification which you're able to provide. So you can say because the drawing changed, because you wanted one more balcony put up or something like that, this 2 meter cube of concrete increased. They won't say that, they won't accept if you say that one transit mixer by mistake started to pour the concrete much before the pump could be connected. That is not a valid reason. If you're able to prove that it is the owner's requirement, then you'll be able to get some escalation or some other benefit. Okay, so now up to previous bill, what has been paid till the previous bill and up to date. So previous bill might be say 60 meter cube of concrete executed, this time you are taking 25. So then up to today it is 85 meter cube of concrete. So if suppose it is reaching that threshold where you have told some committed value and it is coming to that value, even you will know as the person running the contract, as well as the other person will also get an idea. Now I have about an 8-minute video of a power plant. Okay, this is in Taiwan, and it's a very nice one. It's basically a green power plant. You can also have a look at all the structures which are there in a power plant, and this is what you are all going to build. This is what you are going to support in the long run. So here we go. This is from YouTube.
บ้านเฮามีนา
มีสวนย่าง
มีเงาะฮิ
มีน้ำพริกหนุ่มเจ้า
มีแกงไตปลา
ถ้วยกะไก่เจ้า มีองค์ใส่น้
มีคนทีบรถทีบด้วย
อ
Even though we help save energy, we still use 173.93 million units of electricity a day.
มีเล่
มีภูเขาเจ้า
มีลิงภูเขา
มีลิงกินกล้วย
There are more than 70 million people in total.
Daily electricity consumption is 173.93 million units.
And it tends to rise approximately 4 to 5% each year.
So, we must produce more electricity.
And that's the origin of our new neighbor, the Clean Coal Technology Power Plant.
Many have questions.
ทำไมต้องเป็นโรงไฟฟ้าเทคโนโลยีถ่านหินสะอาดล่ะคะ
Because the cost of the Clean Coal Technology Power Plant is low, and when the cost of electricity production is low, we are able to purchase cheaper electricity.
But many people still have questions.
ปันพรือมันทุกปันเนี้ย
Because coal is a natural resource that exists in great numbers, explorations found that currently coal mines from all over the globe have enough coal to last for the next 150 to 200 years.
Comparing to other types of fuel used to produce electricity, whether it is oil or natural gases, which are predicted to run out in the next 40 to 60 years, coal is the most economical choice of alternative energy.
ถ้าหากเปลี่ยนใหม่มันจะดีจะได้อะ
When our nation has the Clean Coal Technology Power Plant as our neighbor, we will have rice farms,
Rubber plantations,
longans,
rambutans,
gang tai pla,
rooster bowls,
water jars,
people riding bicycles,
the ocean,
mountains,
everything we've had, and also secured electric energy.
คำก็โรงไฟฟ้าสองคำก็ถ่านหินฉันยังไม่รู้เลยไอ้โรงไฟฟ้าถ่านหินเนี่ยทำงานยังไง
In generating electricity with clean, cool technology, there are measures to prevent dust from spreading in the storing and transporting to the belt process. Then, the coal will be fed to the pulverizers that grind them to the consistency of face powder of a clean combustion.
Pulverized coal will be used as fuel for a boiler. The furnace heat converts boiler water to steam, which is then used to spin turbines that connect to generators and creates electricity for us to consume.
ช้าก่อนเมื่อกี้บอกเอาถ่านหินไปเผาแล้วพอเอาถ่านไปเผาแล้วฝุ่นกับควันมันจะไปไหนอะ
The Clean Coal Technology Power Plant was not developed only to increase efficiency in electricity generation. It also has processes that remove pollutant emission before, during, and after combustions.
Generally speaking, at the Clean Coal Technology Power Plant, we make sure that we will be a good neighbor. We will provide lasting electric energy and additionally improve the lives of the people in the community with the same plentiful environment.
ที่ว่าทำยังไงคะ
There are many methods to the clean coal technology.
1.
In the pre-combustion method, a clean coal technology is used to remove contaminants and reduce undesirable minerals and chemical components that cause pollution in the minimum amount before entering the combustion method. There are many methods of reducing coal pollutants. A physical method is used to wash off impurities, for example, dirt, rocks, or metal from the coal. A chemical method is the use of chemicals to rinse off minerals and sulfur. And a biological method is used by applying bacteria and fungus to eliminate and reduce 90% of sulfur that might contaminate water and air before the coal is being entered to the burning method.
แค่เอาหินไปทำความสะอาดก่อนเผาเนี่ยนะพอเอาไปเผาเนี่ยมันก็มีฝุ่นมีควันอยู่ดีนั่นแหละ
Don't worry about that. Eliminating impurities before combustion is only the first method of the clean coal technology. After we abolish contaminants from the coal, we will eradicate pollutions in other processes. Eliminating contaminants during combustion, our clean coal technology power plant has a method to increase efficiency of the furnace to capture pollution during the combustion by rejecting limestone and pulverized coal into the furnace. The limestone will act like a sponge to soak up 90% of the released sulfur during the combustion.
90%
That's not all. The combustion temperature during this process is lower than the temperature in the former process. As a result, the lower combustion temperature also reduces nitrogen pollutants in the coal.
Wow!
That's not everything. Besides eliminating contaminants in the coal and dispelling pollution during combustion, the Clean Coal Technology Power Plant has a process that removes excessive pollution from the production after combustion, like using static electricity to capture dust. The plant uses a sulfur dioxide removal machine to separate sulfur from the combustion exhausted by using limestone as an absorbent. The reducing emissions of the nitrogen process is done by injecting ammonia to capture nitrogen oxide, which will form nitrogen and water vapor. That water will be used in the production later on.
หมดแล้วใช่ไหม
The leftover ashes, though they may seem like worthless waste that may pollute the environment, are being used by many means. For instance, utilizing the fly ashes as part of construction to strengthen solidity of the concrete.
Limestone captured fly ashes can be used as gypsum for other industrial productions.
มั่นใจเหรอว่าอากาศจะดี แล้วฝุ่นควันล่ะ แล้วน้ำอีกอะตกลงจะยอมให้เขาเข้ามาเป็นเพื่อนบ้านใหม่ของเราจริงๆเหรอ
Our determination to generate electricity for the happiness of the Thai people leads to the development of the clean coal technology, which is pollutionless and harmless to the environment. Electricity Generating Authority of Thailand expects the Clean Coal Technology Power Plant to be your new beloved neighbor of the community. The neighbor that makes our homes filled with rice farms,
Rubber trees,
longans,
rambutans,
gang thai pla,
rooster bowls,
water jars,
people riding bicycles,
the ocean,
mountains.
and long-lasting electric energy stability.
Right, friends, so this is what you're all going to do. Saw the massive structures. It'll be a wonderful experience just to stand near all those steel trestles under those conveyor belts, or that device which is stacking the coal and removing. That's called a stacker and reclaimer. So I wish you a very exciting career.